So I really learned from the inside out the profound difference it can make to work creatively with our own trauma. And we've all been through trauma, we've all experienced trauma in our lives, but it's really the impact that trauma has on us that we can work with, how it lives inside of us. So art gives that opportunity to really look at that, as I said, in a safe enough way. And so it also, if we align that with other ways of working, looking at how we survived what we survived in our lives, how we adapted to what happened to us. And so there's all sorts of ways to work with that. Art therapy includes both resourcing, so it gives us a way to work with what's happening within our bodies, notice what's happening somatically, emotionally, in our thoughts, and how we can respond to that in empowering ourselves, resourcing ourselves, and also as a form of expression, so that those big emotions that oftentimes can feel overwhelming and so we turn away from them, art can hold all of that. So in the art materials, we can lean into the materials that really enable us to do what we need to do in order to heal from whatever it is that's impacting us, that's getting in the way of what we want for ourselves in our lives. So a typical art therapy workshop or session, generally I start with a circle, and this is whether it's online or in person. So we'd have a circle and a time for those that are there to connect, to introduce themselves, and perhaps to look at what they're hoping for from being there. And then I would introduce a theme. So I don't know, perhaps let's take calmness, something like that. And what does that look like? And what does that, so we'd explore that theme, and maybe looking at the nervous system and what can help us regulate and settle the nervous system, maybe looking at a bit of theory, polyvagal theory or something like that. And then we'd move into a time of art making. And when I hold this space, I really give space for people to have their own time with their art, so to connect individually with their art, their creative process, use the materials that they feel drawn to. I may make suggestions, so perhaps one of the suggestions may be an invitation. I like to call them invitations. So something like, what about exploring yourself as a tree, perhaps? What would that look like? Or perhaps something like an inside out box, so creating a 3D piece of art of what's inside the box and what's outside the box, what's within you, and what do people see externally. So something like that. So I would allow time for that, for people to have their individual creative process, and then we would come back into the circle. And I offer an invitation, an opportunity for people to have their art witnessed and also to get curious about it. Perhaps we'd explore it a little bit using different theoretical approaches. What does it mean, and that kind of thing. So, but it's always, I'm not there to interpret by any means what people are creating. It's being alongside someone in looking at their art and what meaning it could hold, and therefore how it could support them in moving forward in their lives. And again, the opportunity there is to use the art, use the creative process as both a way of resourcing and expressing, and perhaps both. So in time, it's trusting the process that things will unfold and that people can move forward to having what they want for themselves in their lives, and exploring what's getting in the way of that.